Hello, everybody. Hi, Cecilia. I was watching the evening news today, and I was surprised by what TikTok was doing in China compared to the rest of the world. Um, it seems in China, the Communist Party uh, has a stake and has some board members on the ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok, and then they regulate the content so that it won't be harmful to the teenagers and the young people. And it's all about health and science and technology, engineering, and all that good stuff. Whereas rest of the world, they allow this content that goes viral, that's kind of encourages suicidality, and kind of encourages all sorts of material that's not going to grow the young kids' mind. So there was an article also on LinkedIn telling us about the differences. I was just looking at that article also. So the TikTok in China is different compared to TikTok in here and everywhere else. I think they banned in India. So, but then these people are kind of doing that, and they don't want to change management. They don't want to change the content, and that's why Congress is voted to either you dissolute this company or you change the management to American management, and then they can do that. So that's kind of very nefarious, right? That they want to do that, so deliberately. This is where the social media is really looked as something that is doing harm to the young minds. That's for sure. And I've been talking about that suicidal increase because TikTok is one of the things that was responsible to encourage kids to do the suicide. That's horrible, but they're doing that, right? So this brings to social media and what you are allowing to go on there just for revenue generation. That's what they're doing TikTok. They allow these people to produce content that can generate more revenue, but in the process, they're sacrificing the uh, minds of the young people. That's terrible. In my dictionary, at least, I'm sure many people, once they come to know about it, they will. So now the Congress is voting to either, uh, you know, dissolute this company and um, or buy them at all completely, something like that. I think most of the Congress is for this, and they are going to do this, and I'm happy about that. But I didn't know that there was a difference between Chinese TikTok content and the rest of the world. Uh, I know that China doesn't have any love for the rest of the world like they have love for their own people. So they kind of always did that, around India, around other places we have seen. They kind of come and occupy some things which theirs are not, but then they kind of rake up that kind of agitation with people. So that's terrible, but they're doing that. So you got to you got to pay attention to this bill. I'm sure that most of the uh, Congress people are good. There is an interview by the two Congress people, and then they were telling about how the content is different in China, and how the content is different in America. And they did mention about the suicidal rates going up with the TikTok too, and that's terrible, right? And they are doing that, so uh, I agree with the Congress. For one time, they are doing a good thing, that they are trying to protect the youth of America and the rest of the world by doing this action. It seems uh, the the management of the TikTok company here sent all the uh, messages to their users, most of the very young people, young kids, and told them to call your congressman and talk. And these kids, they call and say, "Who is a congressman?" They don't even know who the congressman is, and then they're sending messages to them to send messages to the congressman so that they can put the pressure on their congressman without knowing their own interests are being protected by this bill. Right? So you can see how the social media engineering minds of youngsters, and that's one thing I found with TikTok. I'm not active there because I thought that was all very silly and superficial and just kids dancing does not serve any purpose. So I was never really took to it. So anybody has opinion on this, please come up and we will talk about it. I think this has got to do with the social media and the content and all. The Chinese counterpart, the original company, because they have this communities on the board, they don't allow the content that they allow here. They actually encourage here for the money, but then there they want all science and math and holistic development, wellness, and all of that, which is good, but they should do for the rest of the world too. So for them, all good things. And then here, that's what the congressman was presenting. And it kind of uh, resonated with me because I have seen Chinese do that with neighboring countries around Asia, right? And Bhutan, they kind of came and killed and maimed and occupied the Buddhist monks, and I've seen that actual scenes in the documentaries, and their tendency was like that. I remember a couple of years ago, the Chinese premier came to India, and he was given a grand welcome. And him and that Prime Minister Modi, they were having a nice lunch, and after the lunch, they were sitting on this jhula, they call it a cradle, right? And they were on that, and then they were having good time. But at the same time, orders went to the Chinese soldiers to go and occupy certain border of India. Look at the gall of that president. So they are like that. I knew about it. But then look at this design. It's not just for a day or two, it's a design of corrupting the young minds. And then we don't take any action here. And then it goes on. These young minds are exposed to such kind of superficiality and also some harmful things like, suicidal rates going up and all that. I would suggest that you see the part of that interview where they were describing the contrast between the this is on the PBS News Hour this evening, and interview of those two congressmen working on this committee. One is a Republican, one is a Democrat, and they pointed out these differences. They pointed out why they want to control over this company, and either they can sell or they get dissoluted. But no longer in the control of China. That's what they are trying to do. So I was surprised when I heard that. But surprised in the sense this all these things are going on. I'm not surprised that Chinese are like that. I have seen that before. I'm not happy with them with the way they have treated the Buddhist monks, and also how they go to Africa and exploiting all the resources, the precious metals, some of the minerals that we need for the batteries and also for the chips and all that. They were kind of they go there and then they give them money for a high interest rate, I believe, and then they take over a lot of resources, lot of land. They're doing that, the Sri Lanka, Pakistan also, they took loans that are at a very high interest rates, I believe, and then they ended up with a lot. So all in all, I don't have a good vibe with Chinese government and how they do everything. Even their own citizens, that they have these roads, and in the roads they have all the nets. Once you are walking, you can see the nets above. Why? Because their own workers, because they treat them so badly and they make them work all the time, they jump and die on the road. That's why they put those nets so that if somebody jumps, they won't come and hit the door, and then they can survive, something like that. So anyway, the important thing I think we should consider is why we are silent on this, why we don't know about it, why we allow all this activity by our young kids to go on, and then especially when you want to train those kids oriented towards their own health, their own development and all that, like they're doing there, in China, I believe the TikTok people, they allow all the constructive things, all the good things for their youngsters, why American public is averse to it or do not know about it, no advertisement, all that. Okay, so I was very uh, kind of thinking about that. So is it basically allowing the social media muggles, allowing them to run whatever they can, and people are really suffering from it. We see the other side of it. Yeah, I'm in a pensive mood today after I saw that news report, But I'm glad that they are doing something like that, Congress is passing a bill and they're taking over, and really, I hope they will change the pattern. They won't allow the same things to go on. They can change that to not revenue generating, but more like a productive for the young people, I'm sure. In that way, this new vibe is kind of going towards the wellness, towards the more constructive things, right? So I think other channels also should copy that probably. Uh, yeah, if you look at that news story, and if you have any new output or you want to talk about this, please come up and share with me. What do you think about this? As we debate more into the effect of the AI, social media. I think now it is all a very serious thing because the way everything is going up, and probably a lot of control of what we see, what we don't see, or what is true, what is not, what is misinformation. All these are really given tremendous power to the tech. So, if, on the other hand, lack of awareness and sleeping public, then it can go anywhere, right? So, it's a very important time I think we are going through, and this is something popped up today. So, I was very perturbed, disturbed that this was all allowed, By the way, that's in a larger context, the lifestyles of late, if you take even in 1900s and all that, American lifestyle was very holistic. They ate at home, they cooked, and then they listened to the parents, and this kind of misinformation was not there. And there was so much of scientific breakthroughs, and college education, the institutions are fantastic. The temples are the universities, right? Uh, all that is being eroded, and the other part is it's not that America can do that, keep it alone, but everybody else is following that. See, that's the problem, not only for America, but also rest of the world too. Case in point, I don't know whether I talked about this before, but this is actually happened. Take the kingdom of Bhutan, right? That kingdom was under a lot of, lot of centuries was under the kingdom. So they had this Buddhism, which was their living, because they don't live separately from the Buddhism. It is in their lifestyle. So they're content, eaten, and happy. And then they have uniform clothing. All the people wear the same clothing. They had this, like a GDP we have here, they have gross happiness index. And then they were measuring that by the how happy people were, how contented they were. And that was the case till 90s, late into the 90s too. Um, and they wouldn't allow internet to come into their country, and they wanted to preserve that. Generally, people are healthy. Generally, people are happy. Violence is low, and they were happy in the sense that they are not looking for a lot of things or going after a lot of things, right? Then the kingdom, because of the whatever pressures that they have, they kind of introduced. Before that, let me tell you this: before internet was allowed, they had very low incidence of diabetes, low incidence of heart disease, low incidence of cancer, low incidence of obesity, right? And then they allowed the internet, and they allowed a lot of products like Coca-Cola, other things too. And their gross happy index has gone down because people became very restless, ill, and disease, diabetes all over, obesity all over, and then finally they wanted to balance, both the previous lifestyle, and then the lifestyle that has come in with the internet. And people began to wear all sorts of clothing. So this is how the lifestyle in the West can affect the entire world. That's why it's important to work on these and see what they are. This is a gross, beautiful example about TikTok in America, TikTok in China, how they allow the content to be holistic in China, but then they let it run here so that people kill themselves here. I think that's a real, actual commentary. So how what are we going to do about it? Are we going to say no, it's not there, or are we going to really look into the issue and then really help the social media reform themselves? Maybe they should not be given that much independence. They should regulate them, and they should make sure that they are kind of uh, helping the society not to hurt. I wonder you guys have seen Social Dilemma. That is that's a documentary that they made on Facebook, I think, or maybe generally, but that Social Dilemma was a very good warning for people as to what is going on. But I don't think many people really took to them and called their congressman and asked to regulate. They were there though. Recently, all these moguls, the people from the um, YouTube and social that Mega and Google, all these people came, and then Congress talked to them. I think they want to do a regulation so that their content is censored, and they will not allowed to spread whatever. Meanwhile, AI broke through, and lots of things are going on now with AI. What the problems we had there are completely new now, right? maybe AI would get to us some solutions because we have much more benefit from this AI. Maybe the technology itself suggests some ways that we could maybe block or maybe uh, not be allowing anything into our house, at our phones and all. It's a very big deal. I know, it's very big deal. But maybe there will be a breakthrough where we can control all this with, uh, beautiful technologies that are coming up. Right now, deep fakes, and then they're creating all sorts of unnecessary things, misinformation, election mischief. Even the journalists are really persecuted. That's all allowed by the this TikTok here, I believe. I think you should listen to that their complaint, their why they are doing this. That was very educational to me. I didn't know that China was doing something for their company in that place and something else here. And then they expect these people to hurt themselves. How is that going to happen? You know. I mean, this is what I always talk about. You got to have a simple life, and inwardly we are aware of these kind of things and think about them. Really act on that. Not say, "Oh, everything is monetization," or "I will allow everything," and then we will erode the mental health, spiritual health, and camaraderie. Everything will allow just for monetization. So what good is that? So anyway, many people may not agree with me, but that's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but that's the truth, right? Other fascinating thing for me is in America, ever since I came here, they have these situations and they walk through them as though it's not their problem. And then suddenly something happens to their immediate family, and then they take it up with fervor, with a lot of passion, and they are the people who are the heroes, who are the one really mobilize public support. And see, any of the loss, if you take it, majority of them because of one person got hurt, and then they took it mission in the memory of whoever they lost or whatever they happened, and then they go and change the loss. But now this uh, engineering that's going on may not allow people to change that way. But I was always very admirable to see the movies made on them, or recently uh, Julie Roberts, Eric Brockovich or something like that. She did a movie where one young woman, she changes the entire laws because of that. So Sally Field, I think she had a role where she changes the laws for the corporations. So any number of heroic stories are there. But this TikTok thing is really they should do something about it, especially if they're hurting our young brains. I think, yeah, what they're doing. So don't spoil our it. And if you want to stay here, stay under our management and our ways, but not allow them to do this. And look at that. They sent all these invitations for young kids to call their representative and talk to them, you know. And when they called, these kids called, I believe, they called where they knew that some people are having livelihood on TikTok that's getting affected. That's no doubt about it. They can continue that. That's not harmful. But then they don't have to continue this mischief, this engineering of media content. So, uh, is that appeals to anybody or nobody has a reaction so far? So, I'm bringing in a couple of my friends to see whether they will come. See, this is some of the information age problems I'm talking about, and going back to the you know peaceful life and inner values. I think we're going to revisit that out of necessity. Probably we'll visit that. So uh, productivity, yeah, but productivity at the cost of psychological life, mental health, and a lot of suicides in the backyard and all that. That's not productivity to me. So what? You'll have few smiles and there's few comforts. So what? Do you want to bankrupt who we are? I think that is very cheeky for them to really engineer good content for their kids and then but allow this to go through. Even repeated warnings they were given, but still they didn't want to change it because they wanted to just revenue generation. That's the only thing. There was a story they wrote about in the same thing, an article. They said in India, a couple were fighting, and then that was, I mean, fighting verbally and all that. And then that was uh, taken, videos were presented, and that gave a lot of money for them, so they continued. And those kind of things, when the government saw, they kind of did not allow the TikTok, and then they banned them. But I didn't know much details why they banned at the time. But now it is apparent. So one thing is these people are not having any restrictions. They can publish anything that they think that's going to be viral, right? Many people will see and then will get the revenue. And then when these social ills happen, and people with concern, consciousness, and really aware of these problems, what are the consequences? Maybe we could call them a little bit with wisdom, and then it's not happen because you got to support whatever producing the money. That's what the TikTok is saying now to these people. There are people there objecting to the TikTok taking away. I will be happy if they keep them doing the same productive work they are doing in China. And also the other danger is elections are coming. This TikTok has a lot of data at their thing, and then they say we're going to cut off all the data from being published. But I don't know whether we can trust them because they did that so many things like that. One Chinese trait we saw is they do things and they say whatever they do for their people in the name of that to other people, that's all okay, and they don't budge from that. They will do what is good for them even though it is harmful for the other people. I think that's very much evident in this TikTok running America. So a larger issue is information age, how we are spreading the information through all this social media, internet. Is that out of control now? Is that something we can still visit? Um, the one simple thing is, why can't we teach our kids to have some screen off time on a regular basis? Why it has to be like 24 hours? And why it has to be uncontrolled? And no, maybe the parental control is there, but is that really working? you know People carry the phone into the bedroom and just go through whatever they go through, right? So I'm very concerned about it from the beginning. Okay, so this shows my concern is valid, because they are engineering young minds, and they're causing so many people die because they actively engage encourage suicide. I think that's what the congressman was saying. I didn't know the reality. I know about the Instagram, that article I told you about, but then I don't know about this. So it's all evolving. It's all. I think at least we saw some act of the social dilemma. The next thing I saw in this regard was the all the Mughals, the alphabet, the YouTube, all those people came to Congress and they were grilled. Some of them did dramatic stories at the time. You did this, you killed these kids, and all that. Blood on your hands, and they said all those things, right? I saw that congressional hearing. And now I think they're actively doing something to TikTok. I'm happy. They're moving a little bit. But before election, they didn't want to do this, but they are doing it now. That's a good thing. But down the line, uh, yeah, people are afraid of this fake news in the elections, and they were also persecuting some of the journalists, I believe. So they want to have the mischief during the elections, probably. So we'll see what happens in November, right? So, so nobody has any reaction to this, or you don't want to talk about this? I was surprised when India banned TikTok, because they allow a lot of nonsense anyway. But this one was banned. See, the ancient wisdom I talk about, when I talk to some groups in India and all that, very few are really interested in that. But many just follow whatever culture thrown at them, and then they think some of it is fashion, some of it is good there, and they think these ancient wisdom are regressive compared to uh, wearing the tall pant as a progressive. So immaturity, spiritual immaturity, I call that. But you don't have to go and criticize and all that. But the thing is, that's a fact. The wisdom that originated in Himalayas is helping me when I'm living in middle of so many things in the Western world. Keeps me sane and in happiness, in doing something constructive, and really feeling good about it. So they are not anywhere near that, because they are completely engulfed by the modern culture. And the modern culture people having problems because of this culture, and they want some understanding of the be it be yoga, be it be Ayurveda, be it be Vedanta, be it be Chinese medicine. People are really having good use of that. Look at Martin. He has a room every day. I haven't been to his rooms lately, but what I have seen, he kind of presents vigilance of wisdom, right? And each person comes and explores that, and then obviously they are enjoying that. So human beings are human beings everywhere. So if the wisdom is there, and if it stands to the questioning and critique, and I think we should be open to that. Either it is coming from ancient times or modern times through the science. That's my attitude. It's an experience of the human being that has explored these existential questions of human beings, went deep into them, and had a standard of inner development and inner way of enjoying the life or experiencing the life, and also making it rather easier outwardly to eat and to be and to travel to many things. Of course, there's an offshoot of all kind of pleasures and all that continuing, and then that's not a crime, but that if you continue only you are limiting yourself to very limited experiential component of human beings, right? So science and spirituality are the ones that we should really balance it out and also learn from both and employ them. I know several of these people feel they are superior than anybody else. That's kind of really uh, kind of arrogance out of not knowing anything, right? So we kind of look at the entire map. How many people are really having what's the suffering going on? How we can understand um, on one hand the scientific truths that are making easier for us, but at the same time go inward. That's the what the ancients taught me. So go inward and find that authentic, genuine, abundant self of yours, and stay there and live happily. You see, that's what I was talking about. All right, if anybody wants to come up, I will go on. Otherwise, I will close down in a few minutes. So there are people here. Christopher, Mercy, Daryl, Greg, and Cecilia. Okay. I thought people will be interested to talk about this topic, so nobody. All right, I will close the rooms and then I will see you back tomorrow. Bye bye. Darne.